Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a great day and above all else, that you're indeed looking after yourselves and one another. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you back to another segment of Is This a Masterpiece? Now, the band I'm going to be talking about today, I've not really mentioned on the channel since I did a ranking the album segment over a year ago. And the album that we're going to be talking about today on Is This a Masterpiece? When putting a list of albums together to talk about, I'm surprised I didn't put this album on the list before now. The band are Guns N' Roses, and the album up for discussion is Appetite for Destruction, released on July 21st, 1987, recorded from January 18th to June 23rd of 1987. The music for the album was produced by Mike Clink. Mike Clink has worked with such artists as UFO, Heart, Triumph. There were five singles released from Appetite for Destruction, those singles being Sweet Child of Mine, Welcome to the Jungle, Paradise City, It's So Easy, and Night Train. The album has an overall playing time of 53 minutes and 52 seconds, and Appetite for Destruction was Guns N' Roses' major label debut for Geffen Records. Now, playing on the album, you have what is considered to be the classic lineup of Guns N' Roses. You have Axl Rose on lead and backing vocals, synthesizer and percussion, Slash on lead guitar, acoustic guitar, slide guitar, and talk box, Izzy Stradlin on rhythm guitar, lead guitar, backing vocals, and percussion, Duff McKagan on bass guitar and backing vocals, and Steven Adler on drums and percussion. Steven Adler would remain with the band throughout the release and promotion of their follow-up EP, GNR Lies, from 1988, featuring the hit single Patience. He left the group around 1990, and he would be replaced by drummer Matt Sorum. Matt Sorum at that time had worked with The Cult as their drummer, and he would join GNR for the recording and release of Use Your Illusions 1 and 2 and the subsequent tour after, that lasted till from 91 till early 1994 with dates in Japan. Now, this album would eventually go on to sell 18 million units worldwide and, is considered to be a classic. Now, Guns N' Roses is an interesting story. They are considered a spin-off of two groups, LA Guns and Hollywood Rose. Now, in early incarnations of uh, Guns N' Roses, you had such members as Tracy Guns, who would leave shortly before them signing a deal with Geffen Records, and he would form LA Guns, and Slash would come in and take over for on lead guitar duties. And the interesting story of Appetite for Destruction in terms of album sales, on initial release, the album had a slow start. The album sales were not there right away. And it wasn't until 1988 that the album really took off in terms of units moved and sold. You got to understand too, in terms of the times, 1987, uh, there was a subgenre called hair metal, and I know a lot of people don't like that term, but you had bands around at the time like Cinderella, Britney Fox, Poison, that were releasing albums, and Guns N' Roses were pretty much the opposite of what was going on because if you remember those bands, Cinderella, Britney Fox, and Poison. Uh, there was a lot of hairspray, a lot of lipstick, eyeliner, rouge being used, a lot of teasing of the hair, big hair, etc. And it's also, to be fair, Motley Crue, from the early 80s to the mid 80s, also had that look with the makeup and the hairspray and the whole bit. And Guns N' Roses were looked at as the total opposite of what was going on. Jeans, t-shirt, leather jackets, smoking, drinking during interviews too. And GNR took a very much of a no bullshit attitude and a take no prisoners kind of mentality when they performed live around LA. Like they would do a lot of shows at the Whiskey A Go Go. They would also do shows at the Ritz. And if you look on YouTube, there's a video of the band performing at the Ritz in 1988. This just around the time when Appetite for Destruction was just about to take off. It's about an hour and 5 minutes, and it is a raw, in your face, guttural, lots of attitude, lots of swagger, lots of confidence from the band at the time. But wonderful, wonderful. And in revisiting this album for this segment, I listened to all 12 tracks. The only word I can really use to describe this album is brutal. Um, Again, it was the complete opposite of what was happening on the music scene at the time. And um, they really, as a band, in terms of their attitude during interviews, really put people off in terms of with the media. They wouldn't play ball with the media. They wouldn't play nice with reporters. I mean, they would do interviews, but they would not just be told what to say and how to behave during interviews. Now, in terms of the album itself, it starts off with Welcome to the Jungle. Now, when you hear those opening notes from Welcome to the Jungle, you know the song, you know who it is, you know what you're in for. And Welcome to the Jungle, Sweet Child of Mine, Paradise City, are still played on FM classic rock radio today, especially here in Edmonton on K97. They're played practically every day at some point. After Welcome to the Jungle, uh, sorry, a little backtracking here. Welcome to the Jungle, an initial release wasn't the big hit for the album. It would be released a total of 3 times between 87 and 89. 3 years over the lifespan of the album in terms of promotion. And each time it was released, it got bigger. But after Welcome to the Jungle, you have It's So Easy. And again, from top to bottom, each track on this album is a rocker. Um, it's So Easy. What I like about it too is the fact that Axl Rose, in terms of his vocals, he can go from a baritone to a tenor, but he can also go into his high shrieking ability that he had to hit those high notes, and it became a trademark in terms of the way he presented himself on stage and his vocal gymnastics, as people would call them. But just amazing, melodic as all get out, but he had a uniqueness about him at the time that it really set the band apart from other bands at the time. After It's So Easy comes the final single from the album, Night Train. Again, fantastic rocker. Um, After Night Train comes Out to Get Me, and track 4 on side 1. Again, brutal, heavy guitar from Slash on this piece, just wonderfully done. 4 minutes and 20 seconds of unrelenting, just brutal hard rock. Um, After Out to Get Me, you have Mr. Brownstone. Now, at 3 minutes and 46 seconds, this um, track has a lot of layers to it and levels. Starts off with a percussive intro from Steven Adler, and then you hear the slight guitar notes that come in, or side guitar notes also that come in from Slash. Now, when the band did their Use Your Illusion tour, this track opened the set, and you would see the band come out, and you would see uh, Matt Sorum at the time start the percussion intro to Mr. Brownstone, and then you would see Slash come on stage and do the slide guitar notes intro, and then the band would just launch into the song, and it was just brutal. Once the band started and launched into the track, they were off and running. After Mr. Brownstone, you have the third single, the final track from side A, Paradise City. It's 6 minutes and 46 seconds. Uh, Balls against the wall rock, just brutal. Heavy drumming, nice soft guitar on the intro though from Slash. and easy, but then it goes into the main body of the song and it just explodes. Just melodic as all get out, different levels to it, different sort of dynamics that go on in this track. Wonderfully done. And it just basically ends with a sonic explosion for side one. Side two starts off with My Michelle at 3 minutes and 39 seconds. And you would think that with a title like My Michelle, there would be a ballad or a power ballad. Rocker all the way. Just amazing. Think About You is next at 3 minutes and 50 seconds. Again, another rocker. Sweet Child of Mine, track three on side two. What I would consider to be the breakout single for the album at 5 minutes and 55 seconds, just under 6 minutes. A classic. The opening guitar notes that um, Slash does. And when you hear this, you know who it is right off the bat. You know, you could be living in a cave, wherever. And if you heard this, you would know who it is. There was an edited version of this track released as a single, but for me, I prefer the original 5 minute 55-second version. There's a nice breakdown section on this piece where you hear Maxwell come back in using like a baritone voice, and then it builds and builds and builds again until the end of the song. But again, different dynamics going on, different levels. Very nice sentiment in terms of the lyrical content. Um, then it goes into the opposite end with the next track, You're Crazy, at 3 minutes and 16 seconds. Brutal drumming, unrelenting guitar, just amazing. And he's basically saying, to his girlfriend, he loves her, but you're fucking crazy. And it's just, again, uh, raw and in your face. Afterwards comes Anything Goes at 3 minutes and 25 seconds. And this is one of the tracks that I can pick out that Slash is using the talk box. And again, balls to the wall rock. That's the only way I can describe it. Rocket Queen at 6 minutes and 13 seconds ends off side two. Again, nice track to end off the album. Different dynamics going on, different levels to it, different layers. But there's a lot going on here than just, your typical rock album. This album, in terms of the lyrical content, if I didn't already mention it, if I did, I'll mention it again. In terms of the lyrical content, the themes on the album, it showed a day in the life of a band in LA that were trying to make it in the early days of their existence as a band. Their experiences with fans, so-called fans, girlfriends, so-called girlfriends, people that could influence them in one way or another with drug or with drink, and what they needed to do in order to stay together, in order to get a record deal, and to just live their life day by day in LA. And the brutal honesty and the shit that they had to go through in order to get where they wanted to be. And but when I listen to the album, I see it as very raw, very full of emotion, unrelenting, uncompromising, uh, and just challenging, challenging the listener to say, look, you think you know who we are, but listen to this whole album and then you decide if you want to hang out with us or hang on to what we're trying to do here or move on. Because if you want to stick around for the next chapter in the band's career after this release, please do. If not, somebody else will be around to listen to what we're doing. But this album to me is heavy, melodic, brutal, uncompromising, but at the same time, accessible. And it works on so many levels. Now, to answer the $65,000 question, is this a masterpiece? Yes, I think it is. In terms of an album that brings you heavy melodic rock this album is a masterpiece. This album has been listed as glam rock or glam metal, sorry, hard rock and heavy metal. I consider Appetite for Destruction to be hard rock delivered with a hell of a melodic punch, you know. And I, you know, I at the time there was no other band that came out with an album like this that matched the success that Guns N' Roses had with Appetite for Destruction. It's unfortunate that, after the release of um, GNR Lies and then the eventual releases of Use Your Illusions 1 and 2, that the band would go off in separate directions. For me, as a debut release, Appetite for Destruction sees, for me, Guns N' Roses as a band that were united with one goal, and they were not going to compromise their principles to get this album out and to the public. They knew what they wanted to do, and they knew what they had to do to get it done, and they did. It's unfortunate that the band would separate and splinter off. They are back together touring, but for me, um, this was when the Appetite for Destruction, sorry, was when the band were at their best. Okay, so please put down in the comments below your opinion of Appetite for Destruction. Is it a masterpiece, or are the other releases in the catalog masterpieces? There are no right or wrong answers, just opinions. So please let me know what your opinions are down below, because I would like to get a dialogue going about this album. I've rediscovered it again after listening to it a few times, and I think it's just wonderful. Okay, as you can tell, I think it's a masterpiece. So please click like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content I've got coming up. And I've got more shows coming up with Jim Bricker, Ken Cheshire, Sagosh, and yes, eventually Bill Schuster is going to come back on the show. Don Brightop is coming back on the show. We're doing an episode, probably it could be a series of episodes called Essential 70s Playlist. So we're going to be working on that, and we're going to be bringing that to you as soon as we possibly can. Please stay tuned for that. Please look after yourselves and one another, and I'll see you soon on the music then. Bye for now.